Okay, so it's time for a new skid plate for the 2019 Beta 390 RRS. I wanted a skid plate that had a linkage guard on it, so I've ordered and just received from Pete Sales and Service the Boano Extreme Skid. I believe it fits models all the way back to 2013 and then up to 2019. Obviously with the redesign in 2020, this one's not going to fit the newest bikes out there, but for my bike it's the ticket. I was hoping for a black one to replace the stock black one that you see on top there, but because of this whole COVID thing, parts are getting more difficult to get, and in Canada I would argue they're even more difficult to come across. And so when Pete's told me that they were able to get a red one and asked me if I could do with that one, I said yes right away. So I've got my red one. It came in the bag, which I've taken it out of now, but it came in the bag. It's really thick, way more thick than the stock one. So it came with the actual skid plate with the linkage guard, you can see there. Didn't know that they came with a hole already open for the engine oil. You still can't get to the gearbox oil, but you can get to the engine oil with the skid plate on. I'm not sure if that's a selling feature to me or not, because typically when I change oil, I'm changing everything. I try to do it every 10 hours or so, so I usually pull the skid anyway because I'm getting at both drain plugs underneath, and I'm going to make a video on how to do that. It also came with a bunch of mounting hardware. You can see there. These are all the same, and they're all Allen key heads. Oops, just dropped it there. So those are all Allen key heads, different than the stock mounting bolts, which I'll show you in a second. And then also it came with this bracket, which I'm going to show you how to install. The clips you can see that are on there, the threaded clips, you have to put those on. I got a bit excited and threw them on already and started to test fit it on the bike. But essentially, I'll show you where this goes. It fits up into the frame and provides another mounting point for the skid plate. So the Boano Extreme Skid actually has mounts to the frame in 3 different spots, where the OEM skid only mounts in two spots. That's the OEM skid that came on the bike. Again, it's not bad. It's not a bad skid plate at all, as a matter of fact. I just wanted one with linkage protection, so that's what I went with. Got the bolts here. Those are the stock bolts, so the 2 up front that mount just underneath the exhaust, those again are 8mm. 8mm bolts, and then the one that mounts up into the rear of the frame here, just before the swing arm, that is a 10mm bolt. So you need an 8mm and a 10mm. Pull that off, it comes off really easily and gets out of the way. So that's off the bike. Okay, so the camera is set right now facing basically from front to the back of the bike. So you can see the linkage for the suspension here. We have the bracket here. Again, it's going to sit up into the frame rails and hang down. So that's how you want to mount it. Now, it's a pretty snug fit, so you got to be not creative, and you want to try not muscle it too much, but you got to go in on an angle here, and then kind of work this other side here up into the frame. And it can be easier said than done. It gets caught on the gear shift on the other side sometimes, so yeah, you just gotta play with it. Okay, so that side's in there now. If we can get it away from the gear shift here on that side. It's a very, very tight fit under where the rear brake is. There we go. a very tight fit actually, and I'm not 100% sure exactly where it sits here because we're gonna have to get the skid plate on, but essentially that's where it goes, and then there's a little bit of play now. Okay, but on right under where the brake lever is, on that side of the bike, there's not a lot of room, and so what you'll see is the bracket comes with two rubber end caps so that you're not metal on metal in there. Now you notice on my bike, you see kind of this black tape everywhere. I put that on the frame, and what that is that's black Gorilla tape, and I put it underneath where the skid plate was rubbing or touching the frame. I just noticed it was starting to eat away at the coating on the frame there, so I put those pieces in there. Now what I'm going to do first is I'm going to hold this up underneath the bike. So there's the skid here. You can see that's how it's going to fit. Something like this. But what I'm going to do is make sure that I got the bracket underneath in approximately the right spot. Now it's a tight fit. It's really tight. So as a matter of fact, when I hold it up to the frame underneath, the portion that guards the linkage guard in the back is flexing against the suspension linkage. So you got to really kind of pry it up there. So it looks okay. It looks pretty close to the mounting holes back here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get the next two mounting screws. I'm going to start at the front and work my way back. There's a washer that comes with the bolts. That is for the one rear mounting bolt right here that mounts to the frame where the 10mm bolt came out of originally. I had to move over here just to be able to look through and line this up. There we go. Okay, so those lined up pretty easy. There's those pieces. Okay, so I'm just going to leave those kind of finger tight. I might actually even loosen them off a little bit so I can... Alright. So because this is a floating bracket here, once you get it into the right spot, it should be okay. But as of right now, it's causing a little bit of... Okay, so grab the bolt with the washer, and let's get this part mounted if we can. There is a lot of tension on this thing. This is about to not be family friendly here in a second. Oh man, I tell ya, there is a lot of tension on this thing trying to get it set. gosh, man. Okay. This is not working at all. Okay, well, so far, I don't think I've ever had anything as frustrating as this, working on this bike yet. This part is it's so tight, and the bracket underneath that's mounted up into the frame is loose and moves around, and I have absolutely no idea how to attach this thing. Anyway, I'm going to keep trying. We'll see how it goes. What I've done now is actually taken the skid plate, the Boano one, and bent it and molded it with my hands a little bit and seen if I can make it flex a little bit and get it closer to the bracket. So we will see if that works. Okay, so what I meant by that is I've taken this and I'm just gonna really I'm gonna torque it and bend this linkage guard away from the rest of the skid plate and just try and build some space into it here and see if I can't get rid of, the tension that's not allowing me to get the bolts close enough to get them in. So anyways, that's what I'm going to try. Okay, it's on. It was not easy. And I'm not looking forward to having to take it off for oil changes, that's for sure. I'm hoping that now that it's on the bike, that it'll be a bit easier next time. But I mean, it's a tight fit and it seems to be a good fit. But because of that, I mean, it was really difficult to get on. I mean, you can see the tension in this bolt back here. I mean, that washer's like digging into the plastic because of how much tension is built into this thing right here. So anyway, I think that'll probably loosen up as the suspension works this piece a bit, I'm hoping. And what I'll do is I'll do a follow-up review on this because I'm going to do a maintenance video on changing all the fluids. So this has to come off because I can't get to the gearbox drain plug with it on. You can do the engine oil, which is, I mean, okay, I guess, right here. So you can get at that plug. But like I said, typically on my bikes, I do them at the same time. I do everything at every 10 hours, and then when it's in snow bike form, typically almost every ride I'm changing the oil just to check for moisture and stuff like that to make sure it's all good. So anyway, we will see. I don't know. The other thing is, and I mentioned it before, I personally find that bolt there, it goes into the frame on a bit of an angle, so it doesn't go in flush. It looks like the angle's right now, but I'm going to check the threads on that the next time I pull it out and just make sure that nothing was cross-threaded, because that's one of my biggest pet peeves is cross-threading threads on bolts, especially on a frame. It's one thing when you're talking about the little spring clips that came for these bolts here, because you can replace those. But if it's cross-threaded into the frame, that's a different story. So anyways, it's on. Oh, there goes my hand, sorry. It is beefy, it's thick. Not super crazy about the red color, but I mean, I think it's okay. It's fine. I'm thinking of doing a red body kit for this anyway at some point. So it would probably fit in half decent there. Probably look okay. And really, it's more about the protection than it is about anything. The more I look at it, the more I like it, I think. I don't mind it. It matches the frame at least. It's very, very close to the rest of the red on the bike, so it doesn't look weird that way. Anyway, more to come. Thanks for watching. Classic. Read the instructions. It says right there, Start from the back, work your way to the front. Was the complete opposite way I decided to do it. Let's try this again.